In this video, we'll be looking at the fourth and fifth declensions. The fourth and fifth declensions are two new categories of nouns. A declension is like a family, and you can easily identify which declension a noun belongs to by looking at its genitive singular. All first declension nouns end in I or AE in the genitive singular. In addition, the first declension is marked by usually being feminine. This noun, provincia, provinciae, is feminine. However, there are about 10 exceptions which are masculine and belong to the first declension. Let's stick with our feminine example, provincia. Before we get going, go ahead and pause the video and see if you can remember your first declension endings. Challenge yourself. In a few seconds, I'll put up the answers. Okay, we have ah, I, ah, with a long A in the ablative singular, followed by I, arum, is, as, is for the plural. You might notice that some of these endings are similar, and I'd like to refer you to the declension patterns video to start looking at the declensions with a mind towards patterns. It'll help you memorize them. Okay, now I want you to decline provincia, provinciae. Go ahead and pause the video now and try to decline. Okay, we have provincia, provinciae, provinciae, provinciam, provincia for the singular, and then provinciae, provinciarum, provinciis, provincias, provinciis for the plural. Now we're going to look at the second declension. The second declension can easily be recognized by the E that is the long I ending for the genitive singular. So equus, equi is second declension. The second declension is marked by usually being masculine, as well as some neuter nouns. There are only a small handful of feminine nouns, and they usually involve species of trees. However, let's stick with our most common, which is a masculine noun, equus, equi. I want you to challenge yourself again by writing out all of the second declension endings on your own first, and I'll put up the answers in just a second. Okay, we have the endings us, e, o, o, e, orum, is, os, is. As you might recall here, there are plenty of other patterns, and again I refer you to the declension pattern video to start looking at those more carefully. Okay, now I want you to decline equus, equi on your own. Pause the video now, and I'll put up the correct declension in just a second. All right, we have equus, equi, equo, equum, equo for the singular, and equi, equorum, equis, equos, equis for the plural. Now, oftentimes when I decline this word, people ask me, what about the two U's in equus? E-Q-U-U-S. That's perfectly fine. This first U follows the Q just like it does in English, and it's part of the stem of the noun. Okay, now let's look at third declension words. Third declension words are marked by the is, that is the short is ending in the genitive singular. Masculine, feminine, and neuter nouns are all found in the third declension. Dolor, doloris is a perfect example of a masculine noun. Go ahead and write out the third declension endings and challenge yourself to do it without looking. In a few seconds, I'll put it up. Okay, Here are our third declension endings. I have a little song for this to help you remember. Are you ready? Blank I, yes I, E-M-E, A-zoom, ibis, A's, ibis, 3. 3 is for third declension. Okay. Now, when I sang this song, I said blank for the nominative singular. It's not that the blank is a nominative singular ending. Rather, there are over 70 different possibilities for a nominative singular ending, and so instead of specifying, I just wrote a blank mark. Partially to help the song go, and partially to help us remember that there's no standard nominative singular ending for the third declension. Okay, now I want you to decline dolor, doloris all on your own. In a few seconds, I'll put it up. Okay, we have dolor, doloris, dolori, dolorem, dolore, dolores, dolorum, doloribus, dolores, doloribus. It's important to note that the ablative singular ending has a short E. Often you'll find a long vowel in the ablative singular, but not in the third declension. So keep that in mind. I think we're ready to try the fourth and fifth declension. But before we look at the charts, let's look at a few example fourth declension sentences. Each of these sentences contains one word in the fourth declension. Let's see if we can make some inferences about the fourth declension based on these sentences. Okay, the first sentence, milites impetum fecerunt. I translate this as the soldiers made an attack. Our fourth declension word is the noun impetus, which means attack. As you can see from our sentence, the soldiers made an attack. The noun attack is being used as the direct object. It is receiving the action of our verb made. Because of that, our noun impetum must be in the accusative. And we can determine that this noun must also be singular based on my translation. Consequently, the ending we can determine is the accusative singular ending for the fourth declension. Now let's take a look at the next sentence. Milites impetus multos fecerunt. I translated this as the soldiers made many attacks. Once again, the noun attack is being used as the direct object. The soldiers made many attacks. It is what is being made. However, here, what is different is that this is plural. They didn't just make one attack, they made many. And so what we're looking at now is an accusative plural ending. Consequently, we can determine that the ending us, long us, is an accusative plural ending. Now let's take a look at our next sentence. Senatores in senatu dicunt. Senators speak in the Senate. Our fourth declension noun here is senatus, which means Senate, and it is following the preposition in. Based on your knowledge of Latin, you might remember that nouns following the preposition in, showing a place where, are in the ablative case. And here there's only one Senate, so this is also singular. Consequently, we can determine that the ending long u is an ablative singular ending. Based on the endings us, and u, can you determine which vowel is going to be the primary vowel for the fourth declension? Should have guessed the vowel u. Okay, let's take a look at the fourth declension. Here we have the noun manus, manus. And as you can see, fourth declension nouns are identified in their genitive singular by the ending us, long us. It's crucial once again to be looking at this genitive singular, because if you just saw a us ending in the nominative, you might accidentally think this is a second declension noun. However, once you look to the genitive and see that its ending is us, you can determine that it's a fourth declension. In addition, just for further information, the fourth declension can contain all three genders: masculine, feminine, and neuter. Today we're only going to be looking at the masculine and feminine endings, and we'll look at the neuter later. Here we have a feminine noun, manus, which means either a hand, as in your body part, or a band of men. Okay, let's take a look at the endings. We can fill in the first two based on just the dictionary definition of manus. So we have us in the nominative and us in the genitive. And the dative we have ui, then in the accusative, and u in the ablative. You should be recognizing the ending and the u ending from the previous sentences on the last slide. In the plural we have us, then then ibis, us again, which we saw on the last slide, and ibis. Okay, go ahead and pause the video now and try to decline the noun manus, manus on your own. Okay, here's manus fully declined. You might notice some recurring endings here as well. We have manus in the nominative and in the accusative plural, and manibus. Oh, I'm sorry, we also have manus in the genitive singular as well. And we have manibus in the dative and the ablative plural. In addition, you might have noticed some endings which look familiar from other declensions. For example, we have the ibis ending that we saw in the third declension, and as well as the ending that we saw in the third declension. In addition, if you remember from the third declension, we had a's in the nominative and accusative plural, and now we have us in the nominative and accusative plural. Okay, let's check out the fifth declension. Here are some example fifth declension sentences. Let's look at the first one. Manebimus multos dies. I translate this as, we will stay for many days. Okay, now you might have forgotten what construction we're looking at here in the phrase multos dies. This is a duration of time construction, but you can tell from my translation that the word many, or multus, is agreeing with dies. Based on that, in your memory of the second declension, see if you can figure out what the ending a's is, what case and number. You should have thought of the accusative plural, which is the ending for os in the second declension. So the ending a's is an accusative plural ending. Okay, let's take a look at our next sentence. Habet pulchram faciam. I translate this as, she has a pretty face. You can tell from my English translation that the ending that the word face is the direct object of the sentence. It is what she has. Consequently, our noun faciam should be accusative. And since she only has one face, at least I hope, this noun is singular. So the ending m is accusative singular. All right, now let's look at sentence number 3. Legimus de multis rebus. We read about many things. If you remember, the preposition de is a sid-space preposition. That means that the nouns which follow it are in the ablative case. And so multis and rebus must be ablative. In addition, as you can tell from my translation, we read about many things. This is a plural noun. So the ending abus is ablative plural. Based on these endings a's, and abus, see if you can figure out the vowel that is common for the fifth declension. Hopefully you guessed the vowel E. Okay, now let's take a look at the fifth declension endings. The fifth declension have all nouns which end in ae in the genitive singular. So we have raise, rei. And generally in the fifth declension, we have feminine nouns with a handful of masculine nouns. Now, the nouns res, rei is one of the most common nouns in all of Latin literature, and it has a variety of different meanings. Here's just a few. We have thing, wealth, and situation. The endings for the fifth declension go as follows. A's, ae, ae, m, a for the singular. In the plural, we have a's, arum, abus, a's, and abus. Go ahead and pause the video now and decline res, rei on your own. In just a few seconds, I'll show the answers. Okay, here's res declined in the singular and the plural. Once again, we have some reoccurring endings. For example, the genitive and the dative singular look the same. In addition, the nominative, accusative plural, and the nominative singular all look the same. And finally, the dative and the ablative plural all look the same. Once again, we need context and logical reasoning to figure out which case we're working with. Okay, that's the fourth and fifth declension.